are going to talk about a key element, which is point of view or method of narration. There are three types of method of narration, which are first person, second person, and in order to want you to watch that video.
Hello, readers. Today, I want to talk all about me. Well, I want to talk about three things. First, I want to talk all about me. Then, I'm going to talk about you. And then, we're going to talk about them. David, what are you talking about? You're probably asking. Well, in a word, POV. In 3 words, point of view. Every story has a point of view. It's being told to us by someone, a narrator. But who is that narrator? Understanding the answer to that question in the stories that you read will make you a strong reader. There are 3 different flavors of point of view. First, second, and third person. First person is when the narrator is a character in the story. They use words like I, me, and my. Here's an example. I bolted out of bed, grabbed my backpack, and rushed out the door. Today was the day I was finally going to learn to ride a horse. First-person narrators can only tell us the parts of the story that they experienced or already know about. If something happens that the narrator doesn't know about, we, the reader, won't know about it either. Second person is when you are a character in the story. This is pretty rare. A lot of the choose-your-own-adventure books that were popular when I was a kid use second-person point of view, but they're not as big as they used to be. Imagine a guided relaxation recording when you think of second person. You are calm. Your breathing is slow and even. You are sitting on a bench, looking at the ocean. The ocean is calm, and so are you. This kind of point of view usually sounds like it's giving directions to you, the reader. The most common point of view in stories is the third person, a narrator who isn't a character in the story. A third-person narrator uses words like he, she, and they for characters in the story, instead of I or you. It lets the storyteller get inside the heads of characters to see how they're feeling, or what they're thinking. Here's an example. Benny opened his closet door to grab a jacket, only to be greeted by a horrifying monster. He screamed and ran out of the room, scared out of his mind. Inside her monster costume, Rita giggled. She had tricked her brother. See how we can follow both Rita and Benny? The narrator can see what both of them are thinking or feeling at the same time. Now imagine if that little snippet were told from Rita or Benny's first-person perspectives, Rita using I or Benny using I, instead of a third-person POV using he or she. We might see it differently reading that story. From Rita's perspective, it's a funny prank. From Benny's, it's super scary. He just saw a monster. So, to recap, there are 3 different types of narration or points of view in a story. First person, the narrator is a character inside the story and uses words like I or me. Second person, the narrator is speaking directly to you, the reader, and uses the pronoun you. This is rare, and it sounds like it's giving directions. And third person, the narrator is outside the story. In telling it, they use words like he, she, and they. What's the POV of your favorite story? Is it first person, second, or third? How would it feel different if it were told from a different point of view? Would the narrator know different things? I can tell you one thing I know for certain, and that's that you can learn anything. David out. Hello, readers. Today,
So there are 3 types of method narration or 3 types of viewpoints, narrator's viewpoints. First person, and third person. In the first person, you will find the writer using the pronouns I, my, mine, we, us, ours, and the narrator is a character in the story. Second person is the pronouns used in the second person point of view is you, your, when you are giving an advice or you are giving instructions. Third person narrator is from outside the story. using he, she, her, they, them pronouns, and also characters' names. The first person narrator is a part of the story. The narrator is a character from inside the story, often uses I or me. For example, I went home, Tim came, I couldn't leave. The second person, usually for instructions or giving advice, uses you from your perspective. For example, first gather your materials, add 1 cup sugar to flour. Third person, the narrator usually isn't involved, tells other stories, lots of he, she, and character names. There are 3 types of third person narration. Does the narrator tell thoughts and feelings of characters? Let's see. We have third person omniscient. What does that mean? The narrator is all knowing. Omni means all, knowing. Omni means omniscient means knowing. So the narrator is all knowing. The narrator is omniscient. The narrator tells thoughts and feelings of more than one character in the story. As we said, omni means all, sint means knowing. For example, Tim was mad at Shay. He blamed her. Shay knew Tim would be mad, but she wanted to live her life. Now we know that Tim is mad. We know his feeling. And we also know that Shay wants to live her life. We know what she's thinking about. We know her thoughts. So here the narrator is third person omniscient as we know the thoughts and feelings of both characters. The second type of third person point of view is limited. Third person limited. Let's see what does it mean. The narrator is limited to one character, which means that we know the feelings and thoughts for only one character. It has thoughts and feelings. For example, Tim was mad at Shay. He blamed her. Shay just left without saying anything. She left a note and then left him. We know here that Tim was mad at Shay. We know his feelings, but we didn't know anything about Shay's feelings and thoughts. We just reported, we are reported to what she did. We are not introduced to her feelings or thoughts. We just know the feelings of Tim, that he is mad. The third type of third person point of view is objective, which means that the narrator does not reveal any character's thoughts or feelings. The narrator is just reporting what happened, reporting events. Only characters' dialogue and actions are narrated. For example, Tim slammed the door. He walked upstairs and read a note. He kicked her trash can and started crying. Here we are not introduced to any of of any feelings or thoughts for any of the characters. We just know what happened. Okay, how are you going to identify the point of view? The first thing that you should do, you should check, is it first or second person? If it's first, so you will find that the pronouns used I, my, but. If it's second, you will find the pronouns you and you use. If you found that he, she, they, and names of characters used, so it's third person. And when you figure out that it's that the point of view is third person, you should why, whether it's subjective, limited, or omniscient. Ask yourself, story is the narrator telling his, mine, or someone else. Focus on the narration, the dialogue. Let's practice. We are going to read all passages, determine the narrator's perspective, and write down the answers. When I was 4 months old, my mother died. Suddenly, father was left to look after me. Old, I had no brothers through boyhood. Gave us two, my father and me. We lived in an old caravan behind the filling station. What are the pronouns? I can say my, my father, my mother. I had no brothers. We lived. So, what is the point of view here? I think it's first person, since the pronouns I, my is frequent. Another example, the huge man dropped his blankets. I'm sorry. Okay. The huge man dropped his blankets and plunged, flung himself down and drank from the surface of the clean. The small man stepped behind him. Lenny, he said sharply. Lenny, for God's sakes, don't drink so much. Lenny continued to snort into the pool. The small man leaned over and shook him by the shoulder. Lenny, you're gonna be sick like last night. Lenny dipped his forehead under, hat and all. That's good, he said. You drink some, George? He smiled happily. Okay, what do you think here? The point of view. We find that use of characters, find that there his, he, okay. Does that these pronouns tell you? I think it's per person, point of view. I want you to think now, what type of third person point of view is it? Is it limited? Is it objective? Is it innocent? I'm back again. Sorry for that. Okay, we were saying here that the point of view here is third person. But what is it? Limited, objective, or omniscient? Are we introduced to the thoughts or feelings of any of the characters? No. So it is third person objective since we are just reported with the events. Let's see the third example. The previous night. Make your plans for the next day and write them down. If you attend an exclusive samurai's party and feel timid, you cannot do your part in making it a successful party. You had first better prepare by convincing yourself that you will have a great grand time, and you should feel grateful for the invitation. What are the pronouns used here? Okay, I see you again. It's full of you and your. So obviously it's second person point of view. Example 4. Harold Davis took a deep breath and slowly started to peel the gauze from the wound of his grandmother's leg. Hold on, Grandma, I'm almost done, he said quietly. Don't worry, baby, it doesn't hurt too much, she quietly replied. Just take your time. Harold glanced up at his grandmother lying on the couch. He could tell she was in pain from the way she gripped the cushions, but still she managed to smile back at him. Okay, what are the pronouns used here? I see names Harold Davis. I see his grandmother. Again, his grandmother here. I see he. I see she. Again, she. So, these pronouns can tell us that it's about third person point of view, but is it limited, objective, or omniscient? Are we introduced to any of feelings and thoughts about any characters? Yeah, we can see that the grandmother is in pain. We are introduced to her feelings, but we are not introduced to the feelings and thoughts of Harold. So it is limited because we are introduced to only one character's feelings and thoughts. Let's see here the last example. They were standing under a tree, each with an arm round the other's neck, and Alice knew which was which in a moment, because one of them had "Dom" embroidered on his collar, and the other D, I suppose they've each other got Tweedle round at the back of the collar. She said to herself. They stood so still that she quite forgot they were alive, and she was just looking around to see if the word Tweedle was written at the back of each collar, when she was startled by a voice coming from the one marked "Done." Yes, it's third person here. Exactly, it's third person point of view, and it is limited because we are introduced to only one of the character's thoughts and feelings. Thank you very much. I hope that you understand now what is the point of view and method of narration.